friends, Sandra here, and welcome to my channel Starsinpalm if you're new. And for this video I'm going to be making some DIY planner inserts. If you haven't already watched the video on how I make a traveler's notebook, then you might want to check that out. I will have links in the description box below, and for this video I'm going to be showing you how to make and hand stitch this, as well as how to customize the covers. So yeah, let's get into this, and this is going to be super fun and inexpensive, and I promise you guys will love it. So let's get right into it. So for the inside pages, I'm just using some heavyweight cardstock that's white. I'm using that because of the mixed media aspect that I'm going to be doing in my journal. And then I'm using some brown craft that I also had in my stash. These are all 8.5 by 11, but if you want to use some thinner paper, that's really up to you. I'm also going to be using some wax cotton thread. This is the best thread for bookbinding. You can use whatever you have in your stash, but I can't guarantee it's going to come out like it should if you don't, because they could snap, so this is really what you want to be using. I'm also going to be using some Hello Kitty band-aids. JK. Actually I'm going to be using some needles. You want to use some of the thicker needles. I just happen to keep it in this tin because I'm accident prone and I will lose them if I don't keep them in one specific place. But yeah, this is the perfect type of needle for threading, and you want to make sure that the hole is big enough to thread your wax thread through. You're also going to be using some rulers to measure out your paper. I kind of eyeball it really, but if you're more of a let's measure things, go ahead and do that. And then I'm also going to be using some sharp tools to create the holes. I'm actually going to be using the awl tool, which is the one with the wooden handle, but if you have a paper piercer, that'll work as well. So to get started, I'm actually just using the book that I made previously as kind of like a template, and I'm just tracing along, like making the little marks where I know I'm going to cut, but I have the measurements there for you guys as well. But basically, I just like to usually eyeball things versus having to measure things and all of that. As long as it fits nicely, I'm not really a perfectionist. I'm just making the marks using a pencil, just so that way they're not like super dark. Once I have those done and I know that they're exactly like looking like where I need them to be, like as you can see, I'm gonna have my trimmer ready to go so that I can just trim these down, and that to me is my favorite way to do it because I feel like I get the best results when I use my trimmer for these type of projects. But you can also use a large scissor if you don't have a trimmer, but I do recommend using a trimmer. And as always, I will have links to all the items that I use in the description box below, so anything I don't have there, then it might be hard to get a hold of or retired. But as always, you can always leave me a question in the comments if you have one, and I will try to help you as much as I can or recommend something for you guys. But I really love this Fiskars trimmer because of that little string that is in between the blade and the cutting part, because it kind of just guides you to cut correctly. And there you have it, just cut down that 8.5 by 11 paper, and that's what I have left over. And I know that for the papers that are going to go inside, they're obviously going to have to be just slightly smaller than this, at least for me. I know some people just cut them to exactly the same size, which is also something that you could do as well, but I like to have my papers just slightly smaller than my book. So what I do is I just line them up, leaving an edge, and then I mark where I want to basically cut for those inner pages. But like I said, you can always take like a little less than half an inch off on each side, and that would be fine as well, or you could leave them the size that they are and just make them to fit with that. So it's really up to personal preference. I just happen to do this, but it is an extra step, so if you want to kind of minimize the time you're spending on this, then maybe you want to not do that. And then I decided to keep one of the papers that I cut as a guide. That way I can just continue to use that one every time I have to cut some paper down, because that way I can just save myself a little bit of time with that. So now I have 4 papers ready to go, and because this is heavyweight cardstock, meaning that it's quite thick, I am only using 4 papers in this. But if you wanted to use more, I would recommend, like, if you're using thin paper, then you could definitely add more, at least like 8 of them. I just wanted to use thicker paper since, as you guys know if you watch my channel, I tend to do a lot of, you know, heavy painting and watercoloring and all that. So I just want to make sure that I have papers that are sturdy enough to take that. And I just went ahead and made a crease in my book. That way I have an idea of where my holes are going to be, because if not, it's kind of hard to eyeball the exact middle, especially with the papers there as well. And something else that is essential for this that I kind of forgot to mention at the start of the video is something to kind of hold these together. I'm using a binder clip, and 2 binder clips would probably be ideal, but I just decided to use 1 even though I have more. And I'm basically going to follow along the line of my binding, and I was just showing you guys so that you have an idea that usually my holes are a little bit bigger than an inch. I would say they're about 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more. but there's really no wrong way to do this other than putting them too close together. So I would say at the very minimum leave them an inch apart, but I definitely would leave them, like, space them even more so. I marked where my holes are, and now I'm using my Alt tool to basically just press through. Make sure you have something on your desk that is not going to get messed up. Make sure you have something underneath. I'm actually just using a paper pad that I had that I don't mind if the hole goes through. You could also use like a wood cutting board or whatever you might have just to make sure that you don't mess up your desk, as a fair warning. And then you're going to make sure to put a decent amount of pressure on this. It's not like it's a crazy amount of pressure, but like a good amount so that it can go through those pages. And as you can see, it went through all of those pages, which is kind of why I went with the awl versus a paper piercer, because I feel like you do have to put a little bit more pressure with your paper piercer. Now I'm getting my needle ready and I'm threading through the wax thread, and basically you want to make sure to thread it through, but you're not going to be making a knot, but you want to leave some extra string there, as you can see, so that you're going to see how we use that at the end once we start doing our sewing. So you're going to start in the middle inner pages, and then you're going to sew outwards. And like I said, there's no knot on this, so you're just going to want to be aware of where your thread is during this whole process so that you don't let out too much. You're going to want to leave that small piece of thread like I'm leaving right there, because that's going to act as a knot in the end, as you will see. And now, as you can see that, well, I'm just kind of like going there for a second. I'm trying to make sure that I do this correctly, but it's really, really simple. Basically, it's doing a back and forth stitch. So there I have my first stitch that you're going to be working basically to the right and then to the left, if that makes sense. So I went ahead and first started on the inners, then went on the outer, and then I'm going back again. And if you guys have any questions on this, let me know. But basically, it's really simple. Once you get to your last hole at the end of your right side, you work your way back, making sure to basically pull your string, but not enough to pull that one extra little piece that we're leaving out, and then going back through the same holes that you just went through. And you're just going to see me doing that there and pulling through. And whenever I have any problem pulling through, I just grab my little like tool that I have there. I don't even know what that's called, but it's just like a tool that you use for jewelry and stuff like that. And I just use that to kind of hold it and pull it out if I have any issues, which probably only happens to me because I have long nails right now. But basically I just use it like that. But it's really not that hard to pull it through. It might make it seem because I'm using that tool that it is, but it's really not. And as you can see, we're just doing exactly the same thing and following the same steps, but working our way to the left side now and just putting it in. This is exactly what I did on the right side. I'm putting it in that first hole. Then I'm going to go out on the last hole of the inner pages. See, as you can see right there, I'm making sure that it's all lined up correctly. And then I'm working my way back towards the middle. And that's like the main thing you want to remember the whole time you're doing this. You're kind of working, you start at the middle, but then you work your way back to the middle eventually. So as you can see here, I'm doing the same thing again. And then I'm going to go out right there, and then I'm going to go back into the middle. Yeah, and make sure it doesn't get caught on your booklet like that. And I'm just pulling again. And the more you do this, the easier it gets. It's really simple, so I hope I'm making it seem simple and not making it seem more complicated than what it is. Then I'm going towards the middle again, and this is where I'm going to do one of my knots, as you're going to see in just a second here. And I probably didn't need all that much thread that I got, but I'd rather have a little bit more thread than less thread and then not have enough. So right here I'm creating a knot, but just pulling it through. And then I'm just sticking that right through there. It's a really simple way to just create a nice little knot for our stitch here. And there we go. And then once I do that, I will be basically going back through that hole again so that I can tie it within the inner pages as well, as you're going to see in just a second. But this is just to secure all the stitching that you just did and making sure that it's just fully stable there and your book's not going to come apart at any point. And this works really well. I've not had any of these books come apart on me or anything like that. So if you're doing this correctly, you're going to get a really good result. So now I'm pulling it out on this side, and now we are going to just make sure that that is nice and tight. And I'm basically going to cut off the little bit of excess, and then I'm going to create my knot. And you will see that in a second. There we go. I usually do a double knot. You don't necessarily have to do that. I just am paranoid, so I'd rather have a double knot and not have to worry about anything like that. But thankfully, since this wax thread works really good, it's really holds up really well. There we go. I'm like getting used to having longer nails. And it's good to go, just tightening it up a little bit there, and now I'm just going to cut off the little extra right there and the extra on the side there, and basically this book is good to go, you guys. So now I'm just taking my binder clip off and I'm getting my book ready to be prepped. I'm gonna just be bending the inner pages so that I can really start making this book ready to lie flat. And you're going to want to do this and just really make sure that you're just, you know, bending inward, and you're going to be doing the same thing to the cover, going the opposite way, just to really start working it to getting it ready to just kind of lie flat inside your Midori or whatever, wherever you're actually sticking it into. A traveler's notebook. I know there's lots of names depending on the brand that you're using, but also if you have something that you can put on top of it, like some heavy books or a book press, that would also help as well. It's not that it's gonna lie like super open, but it just helps to have it just being sitting on something for a while, just to help give it its shape and to work it. So that's what I'm doing right now by just moving it around like this. And now our book is pretty much ready to go. Now for the fun part, you guys, is how we can basically just finish it off. So I'm using my corner rounder to corner round the cover just because I really like the way that that looks, and I will have this tool linked in the description box if you don't have one. You could also try doing this using a cap or something circular and cutting around it. I just like using this tool because it just makes it so easy, you guys. You know, hashtag that lazy life. And now I'm going to be adding some more details. As you saw, my book is super colorful, so I knew I wanted to make another book that would be really fun to use. So I pulled out my heart punch, and I also pulled out some double-sided adhesive paper that I had in my stash, which I will also link below. This is great for when you want to do some foiling, and also when you have this many hearts in your hands, you kind of just have to throw them just like that. So now that you have all your hearts cut out, now for the fun part is just placing them wherever you want them on your cover. And you could do this with any particular shape that you like. I just happen to be doing this with hearts because, like, who doesn't love hearts? So I'm just sticking these down there, and it takes me a little longer because of my nails. But basically I'm just prepping these and getting them ready, and you guys are going to see the fun begin in a second once I have all of these hearts down. And like I said, this is double-sided adhesive, so I'm sticking one part down, but I will be taking another piece of them off and to reveal that they're basically, it's gonna look kind of like a clear film. You're gonna see it in a second. Now that I know exactly where I want them, I'm taking all of these off, and as you can see, it looks like a little clear film on them. And I'm just using my scissor because it's a lot faster. It has a very sharp edge, so it's kind of perfect for taking things off like this, so it makes it a lot quicker. And look at those, you guys. And right now they look really plain, but you're going to take some gold foil paper, whatever color you have. I'm using some mint, some pink, and some gold. I did use my bone folder, but that was a little bit of a mistake because it did kind of like take a little bit of the sheen away from it. It was not really any big deal. I still like the way that it looks. Just as a fair warning to you guys, you could just use your own finger to add the pressure like you see me doing there, and making sure that it's fully covered. And look at that, you guys, it's like magic. I love the way anything gold foil looks, so basically I thought it would be really cute to just customize this with some gold foiling like that. La la la, like that. You could also have printed, if you have a laser printer, you could also print on these and do something like that, and do all kinds of things really. I'm just giving you guys a few of the many ideas of things that you could do. You could even print some images that you like using your website, using the internet or whatever it is that you have, or Pink Monkey. But this is just a few of the ways that you can do it. And you guys know me, I like to do things kind of like old-fashioned, as far as like I just like to do things by hand, and I just find it fun to just stamp things and create things like that. And this is a stamp set that I created, which will also be linked in the description box below, because you still have a few days left to pre-order it, so you can get your hands on this cute little thing. And I'm using the diamond from that stamp set, and I thought it would be fun to do some stamping because, as you guys saw with the other insert that I created, which was the first one, I had cameras all over that, and those I had actually stamped myself. So I wanted to show you guys how fun it is to just kind of stamp to create a pattern as well. And I'm using some pigment inks that I had in my stash that are really fun, bright colors, but you can use whatever you have on hand, even your Versamark chalk inks as well. If I find these online though, I will link them for you guys. And they're just really pretty colors, but you can do this with whatever you want. I mean, this is just an idea that I had, but basically you're not limited at all to what I'm doing. So just kind of, you know, work with the idea and maybe do some more of your own. And if you guys do decide to create some inserts using my technique and decorating them or even making them at all, be sure and tag me on Instagram because I'd love to see the things that you guys make. And when you tag me or you guys comment, it makes me so happy. I've been trying to get back to everyone's comments and sweet messages. Like, it's just overwhelming. You guys are so amazing. So I promise I am trying to get back to all of you guys as soon as possible. I've just been like uber busy, but I promise I do get back to everyone and I do try to comment back as much as possible. YouTube has also been a little bit wonky lately where it doesn't give you a notification when someone comments. So I actually have to literally look through and find them myself. But now that we're done with that pattern, I'm going to basically just add some black to it because I really love the way it looks to add a bunch of colors but then add some black to create like a neutral kind of look to it. It just looks really cool to me, but like I said, it's really up to personal preference. Whatever you like is what you should do. And basically, it's going to be a really simple yet clean look to it. And I also want to say that I could have totally used scrapbooking paper to create the covers for these or to even cover these with scrapbook papers to create a different type of look for this. I didn't decide to do that because I really love the clean look of craft and stamping on it, but if that's something that you're interested in doing, you guys could totally do that. If you want me to make a video doing that, I will do that for you guys as well. I just didn't want to do that in this video because I feel like that one was a little bit more, you know, self-explanatory. If you want to do that, you could do that. I just felt like I wanted to kind of do more stamping and do different kind of techniques other than just putting scrapbook paper, but that's also a really cool technique you could do and also very simple and inexpensive to create these fun little books. You just want to make sure that it's a nice thick cardstock, good quality scrapbook paper so that it holds up well for the cover. And now I'm just going to write in that little label that I stamped out there, which is also from my stamp set, and the great thing about it is that all those little images for the most part fit in that little box, so it's really great for kind of just labeling things out and then sticking like little images inside of them. And that's my little pen holder there for my favorite pens, because you guys know that I love Care Bears. So I did decide to stamp my little kawaii book inside that little label because I thought that was cute because it is a book. So yeah, and then I wanted to color him up, so I used another image that comes with a stamp set so that you can basically stamp on the inside of him and turn him whatever color you want. And look how cute that is, you guys. I love how that looks. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing me make these. If you have any ideas or want to see me do anything else, please leave them in the comments below. If you get a chance and you really enjoyed my videos, be sure and hit that subscribe button and also hit that like button, y'all, so that you can see some more of awesome DIYs that I make. And I really hope that you guys were able to kind of grasp what I was trying to do with this. And here I am just I am sticking all the books into this so you can just see how it looks. This is basically a one that I made so that I could put 2 books in it, but I am going to show you how it looks with 3 so that you can see that you can fit 3 inside of it. And again, the links to the video where I made my traveler's notebook will be in the description box below, as well as all the products that I used. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye, guys.